Hello, everybody. This is Shirley with So Till We Begin Embroidery. This is the Wind Down Tuesday. Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate that. Thank you to all of the YouTube and Facebook um, people that are watching. And thank you to all of those that will watch the replay. I do appreciate it. And thank you so much for your support. Hi, Kingsbury Craft. How are you? And how, Robin? How are you? And Jenny, how are you? We got people dropping in. Yes, thank you. So I hope everybody's week has been great. Mine has been pretty good. Um, Nothing to complain about, I guess, just some aches and pains here and there. But other than that, nothing horrible. But you know how it is when you get to be a certain age, you're going to have these aches and pains and all of the things like that that tend to bother you. And I can't escape from, I got this bad shoulder over here for some reason. It gives me the blues, but I'm hanging in there the best I can. So I go from a back to a shoulder to a hip. Hmm, what can I say? But like I said, other than that, everything has been pretty good for me. I've been busy all week, that's for sure. So, hi, Becky. Thank you for dropping by. Hi, Ann. And Robin, you're doing better. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad that everything worked out for your procedure that you had and all of that, and that you are getting some rest. Don't do any sewing, don't do any quilting, don't do any of that. Just rest and relax and get your strength back. that's that's your assignment. Hi, Carol. How are you? Oh, your grandson is here. Oh, congratulations. That is so wonderful. I know that you are so happy to have the little bundle of joy that has arrived, and it's a little boy. Well, congratulations. Hi, the embroidery homeschool mom. Hi, how are you from Massachusetts? Yes, it's been alive. Um, you don't tune into the live, but I'm glad that you're tuning in tonight. And if you can't make it for the live, that's okay. As long as you watch the replay, it's no big deal. But we do love to have everybody that can to come into the live because it makes the conversation go great, where people comment, add, and ask questions, get answers, make comments, and all of that kind of stuff makes the live really lively and we get a lot of good information. So I do appreciate the time that everyone puts into it that they take from their day to join me and the rest of us and we conversate on various subjects. Hi Pearl, how are you? How you doing? Thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Um, Looking at the clock, I do try to wait a little while for people to get in because I know people are steady coming and everything. So I don't want to get too far ahead of everybody because I know a lot of people try to get here and I don't want to disappoint them if they come in a few minutes late. So I'll wait a few more minutes and then we will get started with tonight's topic. And hopefully, I'll be able to share some information with you guys. I had a wonderful time learning. Oh my goodness, I learned so much this week doing research for tonight. As most of you probably know, we had the Soul Long going on. We started last week, I believe it was, week before last. I don't remember. Let me see. When did we start? We start last week, the 22nd, because I was out of town. So last Wednesday night was the first night. And some of us were ready and some of us were not. I had my fabric, but I hadn't cut anything out. And I tell you, I learned so much about quilting this past week that, well, I haven't gotten the bug yet, but I know Leslie had mentioned to me that I was going to get the bug once I started quilting. And I can see why people enjoy it so much because it's so much to learn. And as you're learning, I love to learn. So um, I'm not gonna say I have the quilting bug yet, but I definitely am interested in learning more about quilting. Oh, and you say you saw the new Caesar HTV and you love it. Which one are you referring to? Um, the puff, the metallic puff, that those are the newest ones that I'm aware of. Is there anything else newer than that? If so, let me know because I get behind, especially when it comes down to vinyl and HTVs and stuff like that, sublimation, because I don't keep up with that as much as I should. I put more emphasis in embroidery. You said newer than that. Oh my goodness. Well, tell me what it is. What is it? The new Caesar HTV. So what is that? I'm not aware of it. What's my phone? You'll check the name. Okay, great. Because I'm not aware of it. Let me see if I can pull something up. Hmm. Okay, see what's new from Caesar. I don't want all of this. Well, I'm not getting anything new popping up on my phone, so I'm not sure. Try the latest specialty HTV styles and sublimation material. That's all I'm getting. I don't know what else is new. Easy weed, that's not new. Easy puff, glitter, glow in the dark. So, don't know what's new, but anybody know, let us know and see, so we can share. Hi Taisha, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. Hi Marissa, how are you? Thanks for stopping by. Do appreciate it. Uh, and you said lunar is one of the sheets. Lunar. Okay. Let me see if I can come up with some information. Caesar Lunar HTV. I don't know why this stuff keeps coming back to Joanne. I have no idea. The Echo Strip. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw a little blackout. You put Caesar the link in there. Lunar is one of the sheets. Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know. But if you find it, just share it with us. Anybody else that's on here, if you're aware of it, because I do like to keep up with stuff like that. And I don't routinely. I have bought some um, Caesar HTV. Most recently was the puff. I think I got some glitter puff. And well, I'm not glitter puff. I got the glitter HTV, but I got the puff. Something else I got. Oh, the metallic puff. That's what I was trying to think. The metallic puff. So I don't know what's newer than that, but whatever it is, let me know. But anyway, It's 10 after 8, so let's get started. So tonight we're going to share, and I want everybody to join in and put all your best tips and best practice and all of that out here so we can share because I wanted to do tips and tricks for sewing, quilting, embroidery, and even purchasing fabrics. And I looked up some of all of that. And, everybody has their little hacks and tricks and so forth and so on, and what have you, and things that they do to make life easy when they're in those lanes. And it's you don't know where to narrow it down, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I did come up with a few things that I wasn't aware of, at least, well, yeah, a few things that I wasn't aware of. So I'm going to start off, and of course, as always, I do my AI because that's the quickest way of beginning to find websites and YouTube channels or what have you pertaining to that. So with that being said, that's what I did, and I just trying to read what Carol says. She found out today that her brother 1055 ex tech guy will come to my house and pick up my machine to take it to the shop for service. Just ask. You never know. Well, that's good to know. And you are in Minnesota? So the tech guy that comes out here to Virginia, Maryland, actually comes to our house. Those of us that use the same guy, because he does Maryland and Virginia and DC, and he will come to our homes and do the maintenance there, which is even better because we don't have to drag the machine out and bring it back in because that does put more wear and tear on your machine every time you move it around because you have to be very careful since you're not packing it back in the box and all of that kind of stuff. If you put your those little red bars up there, if you know how to do that correctly, Montana, okay, not Minnesota, Montana, but and that's for Carol. You just have to be careful. So if you find somebody that's lucky enough to come to your home and do it, that's wonderful. But it's even wonderful for you, Carol, that at least a guy will come to your house and pick it up. And that's one less thing that you have to worry about because I'm telling you, it is hard. You said, Anne, you said Aurora. Aurora is not new. I'm familiar with the Aurora from Caesar. If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of like a suede like um, HTV. So I found out about that a while back because I actually have some. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not going to get up and start digging it out, but I'm pretty sure that I have some of the Aurora, and I'm going to look and make sure that what I'm talking about that we're on the same page. If these people don't stop taking me to Joanne, I'm going to have a hizzy. What in the world is Joanne the only people that sell Caesar vinyl? Come on, stop. Well, this is very disheartening here because, like I said, it keeps taking me to Joanne, and Joanne is showing me everything under the sun. Strip flop. That's what I'm talking about, the strip flop. So my mistake. But I've heard of Aurora too. But I was thinking about strip flop, which is a suede type of HTV because I have some of that. Aurora, maybe not. So maybe you are correct. I'm not familiar with it, and it is not coming up on my Joanne. So new. Um, you just found it, and it's beautiful. Okay, great. I'm glad you guys can find it because I can't. For some reason, I keep coming up with a Joanne, and Joanne ain't coming up with nothing. So I guess maybe I need to go to the Caesar site and find it. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for letting us know. And you said you must have watched an old you no, you haven't watched an old one, I don't think. I was thinking strip flock, which is a suede type. That's but I've heard of Aurora, don't know when or where. Um, but I can't picture that right now, and I probably don't have it because I know I have the strip flock. But anyway, let's move on. So back to what I was saying about tips and tricks for embroidery, sewing, quilting, and fabric. And I found a little bit on every one of them. And the first one I'm going to go to is what the AI has said. And most of us know this, but I am talking to an audience out here in Facebook and YouTube that may be very new to embroidery and what have you. And if I say something that, okay, we all know about that, please be patient with me because I'm not just talking to those of us in our group because I know we're very well versed in embroidery and the crafting that we do. But the first one that the AI came up with is the fact that you don't have to hoop everything, which, of course, we are aware. You can do um, if the blank is too small, too thick, or too unruly, you can float it outside of the hoop. Just secure it tightly to the hoop stabilizer using pins or sticky stabilizer or basting stitch or your favorite method. Now, I'm glad that they mentioned basting stitch because that's something else that is a good tip for embroidering, especially if you are worried about something that may move around, slip, something that is very slick or smooth, and you may not have a mighty hoop or something like that, a magnetic hoop that holds it tight all the way around. You may have the regular hoops, and sometimes you get them too tight or not tight enough, or what have you, and you can have things moving around, and you can end up with puckering. So basting a basting box around your um, fabric where the design is going to go inside the box can be extremely helpful with preventing puckering as it is for hooping, obviously, to keep things stable. Now, if you're going to use pins, of course, we all aware that you have to make sure that you pin it far enough outside of your design so you don't break a needle or anything like that. So keep that in mind. Some people can use tape. I have painter's tape, and I guess the brand that I have, there may be brands of tapes that work a lot better, but the tape that I have does not hold the fabrics very well. So I don't even bother with taping too much with the painter's tape that I have. If anybody knows of a good tape that they use when they're taping things down to embroider, if you can put it in the comment, that'd be great. Because like I said, the painter tape that I use, I don't think it does a good job at holding things. But it is an option that you can when you are floating um, your blank so you can stabilize. And a lot of people will float for several reasons. One, because if they're using the regular hoops, it may, whatever your blanket is, may be too thick and you can't really hoop it well, such as what my issue was, especially towels, fleece, anything that's really thick, denim, jacket, bags, stuff like that. It's extremely hard to hoop regularly. But if you have a mighty hoop or a magnetic hoop of some kind, you can hoop it much better. But you do have the option to float. and you can float with your regular hoops, or you can use Durkee easy frames or fast frames. They're two different um, products, but they do the same thing. And they're the flat frames, and most people use the sticky stabilizers, but a lot of people just use clamps because they don't want to get that sticky residue on their Durkee frames and easy frames. Um, Mentioned before, if you do happen to get the residue on your sticky from your sticky stabilizer onto your frames, you can use the LA Awesome that they sell in the Dollar Tree, and that is supposed to work wonders. So I have some, I haven't tried it yet. I need to clean some of my hoops. So as soon as I decide to do that, I'll let you know how well it worked. And hi, Val, thank you for stopping by. And you say surgical tape from Amazon works. Okay, good. Surgical tape from Amazon. See, does it leave a residue? That does it leave a residue? That's the only question that I have because I remember medical tape, surgical tape, stuff like that tend to leave some on your skin. So I don't know if it does. I know they have paper tape, and that might be what you're talking about. I don't know. Hi, Miss Felicia. How you doing? Thank you for stopping by. I do appreciate it. And Carol, you said the green painter's tape called frog tape is more sticky than the blue tape. Great. I'm going to try it because I do have the blue tape and it does nothing for me. I have seen the green tape. So I bought a whole bunch of the blue tape out of Sam's way back when. So I have a ton of it. I haven't used it up, but uh, I guess I just have to invest in the green tape and see how well that works. But that's a good idea. Thank you so much for that tip. Um, and you said no, the surgical tape does not leave a residue. Is good stuff. So that's good to know. No residue left if you use surgical tape, and you can get it from Amazon. Good tip. So the next tip is get creative with excess fabric. And what they're saying is use binder clips, claw hair clips. Now, I was told that when I very first started embroidering, I went to the store because I have no hair, as you can see. So I bought up a bunch of the big claw clips for your hair, and that's supposed to hold the fabric. And this is for flat needles mostly. Hold the fabric back while you're trying to get everything flat on your flat bed. I didn't like the way it worked. You know, some people swear by it and like it. I wasn't too pleased with it, but it is an option. And of course, you can use T-pins or regular pins, painter tapes, as we talked about, clothespins. That's a good idea, and spool huggers to keep excess fabric out of the way. Now, the spool huggers, you have to really have a small amount of fabric if you're going to use these little things here, because these are spool huggers, and yeah, I don't see that doing a whole lot, but maybe it does. I've never tried it, but that's what those are. Now, these are pretty good to put on your spools. That's what they're for, to hold that thread to keep it from, you know, twisting all over the place and hanging all over the place and all of that, because that irritates me to no end. I don't put this on every spool that I have because I have quite a large collection of thread, and I don't think about it. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I'm not that anal, I guess. I probably should because I really don't like the thread dangling around. So I don't know. If anybody has an idea of how to prevent that from happening with the thread, other than the thread huggers, put that in the comment as well. And Pearl, you said the blue tape doesn't work for you either. And Carol, you said you've heard of people using so tight magnets. Okay, yeah. So tight magnets can be expensive. I've not used them, but uh, that makes sense to use a magnet of some kind. And Taisha, I use the magnetic so tight to keep things out of place. Okay, so Taisha has done it. I I've not. Now, I have some magnets that go with my hoops, my hoops that I have for my flatbed machine, just round magnets that you use to place on your material. So I guess they would do the exact same thing, but I don't have the so tech type magnets. And Taisha, you said I also started using the school glue to keep my fabric in place instead of tape now because it works better for me. I'm glad you brought that up because that's also a tip that I read about, and they recommend this looks blue but it's purple. They recommend Elmer's washable school glue. Where are we? So you can see it. It goes on purple, but it clears. Now it's disappearing purple. You can get this out the dollar store. I think that's where this one came from. Of course, they have them at Walmart and what have you, but they do have this size at the dollar store because I got this the other day at the dollar store. Forgot I had some. I found big, a big one a few minutes ago, just before starting. I looked in one of my drawers and I had a much bigger one, so I forgot I even had that. But that's good. It also works for. Well, I'll get to that when we get to quilting. Hi, Marina. How you doing? And Pearl, you said most threads switch the bottom cap comes off to hold your thread and in and snaps back on. Yeah, I have Floriani, and that's exactly what Floriani is supposed to do. But it's just as much time consuming as it is to put these little things here on. So it's one half a dozen the other. You're absolutely correct. I did spend some time. I was doing a lot of a lot of embroidery today, and okay, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but I am having some technical difficulty on. Here we go. That, that was crazy. I don't know if you guys saw that, but stuff got crazy. Okay, you can hear me, and I'm back now. You know how the internet is and how computer and technology is, and you never know when something is going to do something crazy. So just hang in there with me if things get kind of crazy. Um, okay, so now we're talking about the huggers and everything. So number three, um, thread stands can fix feeding issues. If you're having trouble with thread feeding, consider using a thread stand. Now, I have used a thread stand for my single needle machine and specifically for using metallic thread, especially some of the less expensive metallic thread because y'all excuse me, but I'm having one of these itching nights tonight. Sorry. Don't mean to do that, but that arm was really tearing me up. um, when I first started, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about? We were talking about thread stands. Okay, thread stands and metallic thread. When I first started, I bought a bunch of metallic thread that I saw. I think I saw some in Joanne. Some of them are coats. Those are okay. But I got quite a few of them off of Amazon, and I still have them, and I have used them. They're very pretty, but they were breaking like crazy. And the solution that I came up with was with the thread stand, and then have a big hoop it all the way around, and slow your machine, and use a metallic thread needle. Those things have helped, and they do help. Now I've started using King Star. I've not used it in my single needle machine. I don't think. But even if I did, I still would use my thread stand because that's what I'm just used to. But on my multi-needle machine back here, wherever it is, back this way, um, I've used the King Star, and it works really well as long as you thread it, put it on one of the end numbers, either 1 or 2, or either 9 and 10. You need to have it on the end because if you have it in the middle anywhere, that vibration is going to draw in the other threads and it's going to get all tangled and a big old mess. I've learned that the hard way. So now I always put it on the end and it works fine. I have no trouble with it. So I don't use the thread stand or any additional situation on my multi-needle, but I definitely use it on my single needle. So if you don't have one, I've seen them in Walmart, and of course, I've seen them in Joann, and I'm pretty sure you can get them off of Amazon. I may have even bought mine off of Amazon. I don't remember because I got it a long time ago. Number 4, use thread, nets, or slap bracelets to prevent stabilizer from unrolling. Now, that's interesting. The slap bracelets I've seen, and who is it? Dawn, I believe her name is Dawn from Creative Applique, has um, some designs. She has it, I think, for the 10-inch and the 12-inch, I think, slap bracelets where you can actually label those bracelets, embroider it and label it and everything, cover the bracelet with this little thing that she created. I started to do it, but then I changed my mind. I didn't buy the design because I don't buy a lot of small rolls of stabilizers. I do have some, but most of my stabilizers are uh, anywhere from 10 to 25 yards or more because I use a lot of it. The ones, yeah, even the ones I don't use hardly anymore are big. I have a lot of it. So I don't use the little small packages that you buy. They're very expensive. And if you do a lot of embroidery, you're going to run out and you have to keep buying it. And those little slap bracelets just aren't big enough to hold because the largest that she has is 12-inch. So I didn't get it. But they do have it. If you're interested in something like that, you can go to Creative Applique and get that design that they have. And you can use it for your stabilizer. Now, they mentioned the thread net. Now, that's new to me. I hadn't thought about it, but they do have big nets that fit on your big cones. I have the little nets for my little cone, but if you get one of the bigger nets, because I think I have some of those too, and you have a small enough stabilizer roll, I guess that works. Now, I have a question, and I don't know if this is a bad habit or not, but I've done one or two things. I've put a rubber band around my stabilizer, and I do know occasionally if the rubber band is too tight, it will leave indentation in the stabilizer. And I kind of got a little away from using the rubber band. But the other thing that I've done is just use a small pen. I have some really thin pens and just stick one little pin in there to keep it together. That's what I've done. I don't know if that's a no-no or not. If anybody out there has an opinion on that, let me know. I don't want to tell people to do things that is an issue, but that's what I've done just to kind of hold it, my stabilizer rolled up together. It works. So, like I said, if anybody has an opinion on that, has done it or whatever, just let me know. Carol, you said the cheaper bracelets are not very firm. They kind of work. You might need two. I use them for your vinyl rolls. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I don't use a lot of vinyl, but it would definitely work for a vinyl. They have the Creative Applique, Dawn from Creative Applique, does have an Amazon store, and look at me promoting all of this, but anyway, information. She has an Amazon store, so if you go on in her website, she has a store, and in her store, she lists the slap bracelets that she recommends if you're going to use her design. Now, I did buy them because, like I said, I was going to do that, and I don't remember if I bought the design or not. I guess I did, since I bought the product, the slap bracelets, but I returned them because I decided not to do it. So I think they were pretty good, though. I think they were pretty good. I don't remember what I paid for them. They weren't extremely expensive, but I don't remember exactly what I paid for them. Okay, number 5. This I've done, and actually I have bought these fabric pens. They recommend you use a Sharpie to fix mistakes if you make a small mistake. A Sharpie in a matching color can help hide it. And I have done that. Trust me. I bought some fabric Sharpie pens and I've dotted a few places. And it worked. And I was happy. So I don't recommend people drawing a whole big picture with one. But if you just have a little skip, a little something that almost unseeable. Yeah. And like I said, I bought some fabric pens that are in various colors just for that particular purpose. And yes, I have used them and it does work. Number 6, pre-trim applique fabric if you stink it cutting closely. This can help ensure your applique looks neat and professional. And that means you can use a cut machine. Now, you can use a Cricut, a scanning cut, silhouette cameo, the Romeo, the Juliet, all of that. Any of those cutting machines. I don't know about Romeo and Juliet. I'm not familiar with them. Uh, and I never used my cameo. I have one, but I haven't used that. But I know Cricut and scan and cut for sure. You can do that. You can cut out your applique and just use it. Use your purple glue. Be sparingly with it, but use your purple glue or adhesive spray, as long as you do it lightly, and make sure you have it placed correctly, and then go ahead and do your applique, satin stitch or what have you around it. The biggest concern and what's important is to be able to get the measurements correctly when you set it up to have it cut out so it's not going to be too small. You want it to be just right to fit into the positioning line perfectly, because if it's too small, then you're going to miss catching it with the uh, satin stitch. If it's too big, then you're going to have fabric sticking out, and then that's not going to look good either. So you got probably do some practicing. I did it once with the Cricut. I sent the from Embroidery to Cricut and cut it out. And it worked pretty good, except for one letter didn't quite, it was the letter A, didn't quite match up very well, but I was able to adjust it on the positioning line well enough where it did catch, so I didn't have an issue with it not catching, but it actually was not perfect. The other letters that I were, and I'm not that big of a cricket person, but I'm gonna learn how to do that with the scan now that I have it. That worked pretty good, and I don't know. I don't care about cutting out appliques though. I really don't. Is it time saving? I don't know. Do you guys think pre-cutting your applique pieces save you time, or do you just prefer to just cut them out as you go? For me, since I've not really done a pre-cut but once, I, I didn't see that big of a benefit. So let me know what you guys think. Okay. And Carol, you said fine point sharpies are great. And Taisha, you say you don't think it saves time at all. Okay. I kind of am in agreement with that, especially if you are proficient with cutting out appliques. I'd rather just go ahead and cut that thing out and keep it moving. That's just me. I don't see where it saves a lot of time, but maybe it does. I don't know. It's a personal preference, I guess. Number seven, not all embroidery scissors are created equal. Invest in a good pair of embroidery scissors for precise cuts. That is a excellent, excellent, excellent tip. Don't skip on your applique scissors specifically. You need a good sharp point. You need a scissors that cuts well. And I believe in the curved angle scissors. I'm not a big duck bill scissor person. I have at least like three pair of them, and I don't use any of them. Because being left-handed, I never could maneuver it the way it was supposed meant to be maneuvered, so it didn't make any difference. And I bought a pair of left-handed duckbill, and I couldn't maneuver those and get them to cut. So that was just a waste of time and money for me. So some people love them and swear by them. So I'm not advocating that you don't get them, but you get what works for you. But most importantly is that you do invest in a good pair of scissors. Now, does that mean you have to spend a whole lot of money on your scissors? My recommendation is choose which brand works best for you. And if they sell them at Joann, make sure you get that coupon and just buy them that way so you can save some money. So if it's a $50 scissors and they got a 50% off, that's $25 you've saved. If you're lucky enough to get a 60, because I haven't seen a 60% off in a minute, but that's even better. But they have 40% off quite a lot. So matter of fact, they just had 40% off the other day, and I bought a new pair of pinking shears. So um, it does. No, they were 50% off. Yeah, they were 50% off. So yeah, it does help. And I don't buy stuff like that unless they're on sale, unless I absolutely have to have them. And so far, since I've stocked up, I haven't been in that position yet. But always try to get your stuff on sale. Now I know Angela Jasmina says she recommended these little short um, applique scissors Fiskars because they have the orange handle and they do have the curved blade. And I bought a couple of pair and I still have a pair that I haven't even opened, and I bought them over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I haven't even opened them yet because I bought two pair. I don't use them. I did in the beginning. She swears by them. I don't use them, and it wasn't that they weren't good. It's just that I got lucky and found some I like better. So I use the one that I like better, and they got a good point on the end, and I love that because when I'm cutting appliques, not only can I cut around, um, and I usually use two pair. That's just what I do. I have my curved pair that I use to cut around because that cuts really good. And then I get this other one with a real sharp edge, and I get in those little tight spots, like if you got an A or a B or something that you need to get in there and cut it out, but you don't want to cut your uh, your fabric. You just want to get in there and lift it up and cut out the applique part. It works really well. So invest in a good pair of applique scissors. And Robin, you say you love your duck bill for applique. And like I said, some people swear by them. I just have not been lucky enough to have a good outcome with them. And Becky said, I love them, and you're a lefty too. Somebody, you got Robin, you and Becky gonna have to show me how to use my left hand. Well, you, Becky, for sure. Show me how to use my left hand duck bill because I have not been able to figure out how to make those things work. We'll have to do that at one of our Zoom meetings. And hi, Wendy, how you doing? way from Wisconsin. How you doing? I got relatives in Milwaukee. Um, Now, number 8 is something that I totally didn't know anything about, and I don't know if you guys have or not, because I don't think this has ever been mentioned in any of the conversations that I've had. But this is what it says: Bo Nash to the rescue for hoes. Who has heard of Bo Nash? Bo-Nash, Nash, Bo Nash. If you accidentally make a hole in your fabric, Bo Nash can help repair it. Let me know if you're familiar with Bo Nash. I had never heard of Bo Nash before until I read this. So naturally, I looked it up. And Taisha, I have purchased some but haven't used it yet. Okay. Well, I haven't purchased it and I haven't used it because I didn't know anything about it. So I looked it up. Bone ash is a powder that makes invisible repairs and saves a fortune, repairs tears and holes. Used for appliques, applying labels, perfect for surface embellishment, used for a multitude of craft projects, base quilts, stays soft and no pins. You can stitch through it, will not gum up your needle. You can wash it, you can dry clean it. And Val, you say yes, you have heard of it and you have used it. And Carol, I have heard about it but properly forgot. Okay, so I up like I said, 1 ounce container bonus powder is enough to do 7 purpose. Bonus, well, both they're talking about their product. They have a Bonash too, which gives you a nonstick iron and craft pressing sheet. And you can get this from where did I get this? Where did I download this from? It didn't put on here where I downloaded it from. I'm trying to remember what site that I got this information from. It's not on here. Anyway, did I write it on here? You can get it from Craft online, but you can get it in other places too. Bonash can be used with all fabrics from delicate silks and laces to heavyweight canvas and denim. Easy to use with only 3 steps. You apply the powder, cover it with a pressing sheet, and apply heat. It can be machine washed or dry clean. And um, this particular place, Craft Online, has a starter kit of 19.99, and this other place that I looked at had theirs for 12.99. Anyway, I saw a video as to how it works, and spelling of Bone Nash, please, is Bo Nash. B as in boy, O dash Nash, N as in Nancy, ASH. So it's 2 words. It's Bo Nash. Bo dash Nash. That's the spelling of it. Hopefully that's clear. Bo Nash. Let me put it in the comments so people can see it. B-O dash Nash. What the devil? An error occurred usually. Let me see what that. Let me. Hmm. Okay, there you go. I don't know what that was. Have no idea. Anyway, Bo Nash. Hopefully, you guys can see that. And I saw the video of someone actually using it. I don't recall the site that I saw that on. I Googled Bonash and it came up. So maybe it'll come up again. Oh, Missouri Star. That's it was Missouri Star Quilt Company. They have it. I don't know if you can see it. That's what it looks like. Um, and she sells it for $12.95. It's $12.95 there. The video that I saw, and I don't know if I saw it on their site or not, but this lady had a cashmere sweater that had a hole in it from a moth. And I know how that feels because I had a cashmere sweater that a moth ate mine up. Well, it didn't eat it up. It had a couple holes in it. And I kept that uh, sweater for a while and then I eventually got rid of it because I hadn't heard of Bonash. She went into the seam of the sleeve and cut a little sliver of fabric from the sleeve, being careful not to cut a hole in the sleeve and rip the seam and so forth and so on. And she cut a sliver of fabric from her seam of the sleeve of her cashmere sweater. And she put the fabric in her hand and she balled it up in a ball. Then she got a nice pair of scissors and she said, be careful. And she just started cutting it to kind of cut it apart. And once she got it cut apart, she poured the Bonash powder on that piece of fabric and rolled it around. Then she put that ball of fabric um, in the hole. She had her sweater sitting on like a Teflon sheet. Um, and of course, it was touching the Teflon sheet, so you don't want it, you want to make sure that it's just one layer. And so she had that on there. Then she put another Teflon sheet on top where the hole and the little ball of fabric was. And she put the Teflon sheet on top of that. And she took an iron and she said the iron was pretty hot. She didn't give a temperature and she kept it there. She said, you don't have to keep it there long. So she kept it there for a few seconds. And when she took it off, you didn't see a hole and you couldn't tell it had been repaired. Now I saw this on the video. I was impressed. Never heard of it before. So those of you that have purchased it, give it a try. And then maybe you can come back and let us know how it worked for you. I probably will buy some to try it out. I truly regret I didn't know about it before I got rid of my cashmere sweater. But I didn't. But anyway, it is what it is. It's what Actually, I think it was a set. And the oh, I'm so mad. But anyway, give it a try. Bonash. So if we didn't learn anything else tonight, that part was something for me. Hi, Mary. Hi, Leslie. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by. So again, Bonash to the rescue for Ho. Give it a try. Number 9, avoid overspray from temporary adhesive. We all know you can mess things up and everything. Be careful when using temporary adhesive to avoid getting it on areas where you don't want it to be. They have a spray tint that some people can buy. I think it's a dime product, I think, where you can put your product in your blank inside this tent. They want like $25 for the tent or something along that line. I've seen it, didn't buy it. And then you can do your spraying in there. And some people take their stuff outside. I don't because going outside is not convenient for me. to do that to spray, and I don't spray that much, but just be careful with the fumes. But most importantly, be careful with how much of the spray you use because you do not want it to get on other things. And the last thing that they said is you can split larger designs to use on small hoop machines. And we all know about the repositional hoops that you can buy for your single needle machines. If you have a 4x4 or a 5x7, you can buy this repositional hoop, and I think it's like a 4x12, I think is what it is, or 4x10, something along that line, where you can do the repositioning and you can make a much larger design than what your machine will go. So if you got a 4x4, then you can actually, with the split design and the repositional hoop, do a design that's at least 4x10 or 4x12, whatever that hoop size is. I have that, never used it because I didn't stay in a single needle machine for that long. I kind of got out within 3 months of getting my single needle machine. I got a 10 needle machine, so I was one of these little fast folks. So I never did get around to even learning how to do it. But it's simple because I've done split designs on the big machine, so I know I could do it on the small machine. And Taisha, you say you have to spray a lot of items. You can use a box to spray your items. Yeah, so a box works just as well as paying that $25. $25 for the spray tint. And Robin, you said you bought it's a 5x12 and have never used it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a 5 or a 4 because some people have 4x4 machines, and I thought they could use it with a 4x4, but I guess not. But anyway, it's a 5x12. You're right. I bought it. I haven't used mine either. And I never used it. But it is an option, especially if you don't have a larger hoop and you want to make a larger design. It is an option. So keep that in mind. So those are the tips for embroidery. And I can't think of anything right off my head that I want to share, and I know it will come up. And Val, you say you use Amazon uh, so the time. I'm assuming you say you bought it from Amazon and you use it all the time. I got mine from Amazon, but again, I never used it. Um, but you can get them from Amazon because I got mine from Amazon. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about, I guess I'm gonna do sewing next because I'm gonna leave quilting for last. Some of the tips for sewing, and I used to sew. I don't sew a lot. I have to relearn how to sew. Uh, the concept is still there. It's just, use it or lose it. The skill level isn't where it used to be, where I used to could just zip down, and sew. Because I used to work in a sewing factory, so I was used to sewing fast, putting things together and zipping on down. I don't put things together and zip on down anything because it's not going to be straight if I do that. So I put things together and I slowly go down the line to make sure it's straight. But I do try my best to do that. Oh, okay. Val, you said you use Amazon boxes all the time. I got it. It makes sense. You use Amazon boxes. Good help. Good to do those boxes. I never thought about it. I get way too many boxes, and I never thought about that. So that's an excellent tip. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Amazon boxes spraying with. Good idea. So back to sewing skills. One thing that they say AI, number one, is to clean your machine regularly. Now, I did go online, I did look at some YouTube videos, and that's something that they specifically said as well. It is important to keep your machine clean and maintain. A lot of people don't do any maintenance on their sewing machines until they have an issue. But it's important to have your sewing machine maintained just as it is to have your embroidery machine maintained. And they said one of the most important sewing tips that many overlook is how important it is to clean your machine after each use and get down in that bobbin area and get all of the lint and everything out of there before you start your next day or your next project so you can keep your machine functioning well and to make sure that the stitch is going to do well. Perfect example of the lint and everything, how it can cause an issue. Now, I wasn't on my single needle machine. I was on my multi needle machine, and I was stitching, and the thread kept breaking, and it was shredding. And the first thing came to mind was needle change, dull needle, because it's shredding. But I was a little confused because I keep a log of the needles when I change them, what needle it is. And I knew I had just changed the needle yesterday. It's in my book. I logged it because I took the 65, the 65.9 out and put in a 75.11 ballpoint. So I knew I had changed the needle, but the thread was threading. It would stitch for a while, get a little loop here, a little loop there, and then it would just stop. And I come and look at it, and the thread is all threaded. So I said, change the needle. It could be just a defective needle. Stuff happen. New needle, but doesn't necessarily mean that the needle was not defective from the factory. So I took it out and put a new needle in. It did it again. I said, oh, wait a minute, hold up. So I followed the track of my threading because that was the next thing on my mind. Maybe it's not threaded correctly. So I threaded it again, followed the track, made sure all the tensions were there. Everything was correct. Wasn't working. Next step was to take the needle plate off, took that off, and lo and behold, I had two little pieces of thread, two little bitty pieces of thread down there by the cutter was causing all of that headache. I said that just to emphasize the point back to the single needle machines or sewing. You got to keep your bobbin thing cleaned out. You got to just keep everything cleaned up because I went step by step what I normally do when I'm troubleshooting, when I'm having issues, because I knew that it had to be something that was causing it to shred. I thought it was shred. I thought it was the needle because that made sense, but it wasn't a needle because as soon as I cleaned it out, stitched perfectly, did not have any more thread breakage, no little hoops, none of that. None of that. Just for two little bitty pieces of thread was causing all that big old headache. So you got to troubleshoot, but you need to keep your stuff clean and make sure everything works. And yes, Carol, I do keep a needle log because I don't routinely just go all the way through and change all my needles at one time like some people do because I don't do commercial uh, sewing, embroidery. I do sew or embroider and sell. I do have customers, but I don't consider myself quote unquote a business yet because I'm not doing it every day and I'm not running my machine like that. And because of that, I do change my needles often, but I don't want to do a 10 all the time, a 10 all the time, a 10 all the time, because that's wasteful. So every time I change a needle, I log it. And I don't know if you follow Jeanette at a Baroque Sewing and Craft, but she sent out this year for a Christmas gift a cute little notebook uh, as a Christmas gift, and that's what I use to log. It has a pen that goes with it, ink pen to go with it, and everything. And every time I change a needle, I put the date down. I put the number of the needle, whether needle 4, needle 2, needle whatever, and I put down the type of needle, whether it's a 65-9, metallic, leather, whatever I put in there. I log it, and um, like I said, I have the date and all of that. So I know exactly what was changed and when it was changed. And sometimes you have to like today. I changed that needle yesterday, number 4, and I changed number 4 again today. That's the way it goes. Now the needle might have been fine. It may not have been a bad needle. It may have actually just been that little stuff underneath, but that was the first thing I thought about because it was shredded. And that's usually a sign of a dull needle. Next thing, use the right tools. The right tools make every project easier. And there are YouTube channels that tell you what the basic tools for sewing are. And we all know besides the machine and the needles, you need a seam ripper, you need a what I call a hem gauge. If you're doing patterns, you need tracing paper. At least I did back in the day. I don't know what people use now, but you got to have your tracing paper for your pattern, and you need pens. Some people are not using a lot of pens anymore. They're using clips, or they're using this purple glue. So you got to have something that's going to hold things together, whatever that may be. So those are kind of your basics. You need a ruler. You always need like a tape measure ruler or something. I prefer both because it just depends upon where you are and what you're doing. You need to have either the tape measure or you need to have a straight ruler. Um, so those are the things for the tools. Number 3, keep things organized. An organized workspace can make your sewing process smoother and more efficient. Now, I tell you, sometimes you can over organize if you like me. I have yet to get my stuff together exactly the way I want it because I got more stuff in this room than I have places for. And I'm working feverishly to try to find more efficient. And what happens, I plan on doing a little 300. But sometimes I put stuff up and I can't remember where I put it because I don't have things labeled yet. I don't have a drawer label saying this is in this drawer and so forth and so on. So I can't remember what drawer I stuck it in or what basket I put it in or whatever. And that is so frustrating. So organization means you need to not only put things away, you need to know where you put it, and it needs to be somewhere where you put it there and you put it back in that exact same spot. Every time you use it, it goes back into that exact same spot. Now I have my pegboard up with my baskets and my little cups, and I'm pretty good with that. When I take out a pen or whatever's up there, seam rippers and all of that, I put it back because I want to keep things organized and in place, and I want to be able to find them. So that's a beginning, but you need to get organized. The other thing is to make sure that you plug your machines, all of them, not just your sewing machine, in a surge protector. Yesterday, it was storming like crazy here. And I was saying to myself, oh, thank goodness my stuff is, especially the big machine back here, computer, all of that, surge protector. Because you do not want, I've had that happen when I was in St. Louis in my house and I had my little business and I had my office downstairs and I had 2 computers and what have you. But anyway, on one computer, I had pictures. I had gone to see Obama and I had pictures of all of that on that computer would work as well. And my grandson decided that he needed, I don't know what he needed, but he took my surge protector to his room to use with his computer. and I was not aware of it. And we had a big storm, and it just fried my hard drive. So I know what will happen if you don't have your things on a surge protector. It just fried my hard drive. It was dead. I was hurt. I was quite upset. But anyway, make sure you have everything on a surge protector so you can protect your things. 5, do not sew over pins. Sewing over pins can damage your machine and your project, and I am very bad at that. I'm getting a lot better. Uh, Getting a lot better, but do not sew over pins. That is a huge no-no. Use the right needle for the right job. You know, you want to make sure that you don't that you know what needle to use. Now, I was watching this video, and I know I have it somewhere, and I don't know if I can find it right offhand. But this lady on the video had a chart that you can carry around with you that lets you know what needle you need for every fabric that you have. Now, you don't have to have that little chart because I must have moved it, because if you have the compass that you can get from the sewing compass from Dime, it tells you what needle for what fabric and all of that kind of stuff. So you can use that or something similar to that. But you definitely need to make sure you use the right needle. And same thing with your embroidery machine. I always switch up my needles. If I'm doing metallic thread, I use a metallic needle. If I'm doing vinyl or faux leather, then I use a leather needle. They have the jersey needles, the anti-glue needles, all of those needles. Sometimes people say you don't need them and what have you, but I feel more comfortable with them because it's going to be the right size for that particular fabric that you're stitching on. So that will make your product stitch better. So I do that. Number 7, thread matters. Don't get the cheapest thread. You don't have to get the most expensive thread, but get some good thread. My machine, my single needle machine will not use that sim thread from Amazon. Not to say it's bad thread. It's beautiful thread. The colors are absolutely gorgeous. Inexpensive. First thing that I bought when I got my machine was this big chest, 60 threads, I guess, and I'm looking at it now because it's still full. My thread was breaking like crazy. Just break, 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 break. It did not like that thread. And it does not like generic bobbins. It only wants brother bobbins. So my machine is bougie. My brother SC 1900 is bougie. I don't know about everybody else's. Robin, I don't know what yours is, but mine is bougie. It wants to have, it doesn't have to be, it just won't use the sim thread. I've used other brands, it works okay. But sim thread, it did not like. Um, and the it didn't like generic bobbins, only brothers. So that's what I stick with. And it's worked well. Now I can wind a bobbin and use it. But I guess because I use the brother bobbin case, I don't know. But that works. Now it says, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Use the thread stand, and then you can use temporary spray adhesive sparingly. So those are the things that they tell you you need to have to do better with your sewing. And of course, there's a whole lot of other things that you might want to do. Um, Carol, you said a tiny piece of thread under my bobbin case can seize up my mighty uh, console industrial. That little bitty thread gets in the way. Trust and believe, it gets in the way, and it will make your life miserable if you don't find it and get it out of there, because it will. Just like when my machine died on me or went crazy or got sick, I put it that way. It was simply because a little tip of needle, when my needle broke, the tip broke off and fell down into the bobbin casing area somewhere, and it froze up my machine. My machine would not move. It made the worst noise in the world, and it would not move, and it was absolutely nothing that I could do to fix it, that I knew how to fix it. Now, when the tech came, Jason came, he came in, bam, it was fixed in no time flat because it wasn't a big deal as far as something really being wrong with it. It was just this little bitty tip of needle was in the wrong place and the machine wouldn't work. So those things are important. It doesn't matter how small it is. It can cause a huge, huge problem with you. So now let's get to quilting. And I tell you, I'm excited. It's kind of funny. And Leslie, I know you're on here because you told me that I was gonna get the quilting bug. And I'm laughing about that because I don't have the quilting bug yet, but I am excited about learning about quilting because I've been looking at a lot of quilting videos this week, and I have learned a lot. And terminology, everything. I've just learned a lot about quilting just by looking at some videos, and it does make me excited. What it also has made me realize is that quilting is expensive. The fabric, my word, the fabric is very expensive. Now, before I get to there, there's a couple of things that I wanted to bring out that I almost forgot about. And well, it goes along with the quilting, I guess. I guess I didn't forget about it because I got all this stuff back here and all this stuff has to do with quilting. But the good thing about it is most of this stuff I already had. I was watching this video and it was several videos on there. And my biggest issue that I have with one of the biggest issues that I have about quilting is getting that 1/4 inch seam allowance that you must have if you're going to have all of your pieces to line up correctly and get the points and all of that stuff according to everything that I've read. And so they want you to be precise with that 1/4 inch seam. So I'm looking at all these videos about that, and they start talking about your 1/4 inch presser foot. I thought I had a 1/4 inch presser foot on my machine, and I did not, and I didn't have one. One did not come with my machine. I pulled my manual out and I started looking at the feet that I had and the list that was included and the option and the 1/4 inch um, presser foot was over here on the option page. And I said, well, I'll be doggone. I don't have one. But lo and behold, I did because I had bought this a while back. Can you guys see this? Madam, what her name is? Madam So Ultimate Presser Foot Set, a set of 32 pieces. Wasn't that expensive, but it tells you everything that you have on the back and the inside, and it even comes with a DVD telling you how to use all these feet. Now, when I bought this, it couldn't have been any more than maybe $40 or more, somewhere say between 35 and 50, because I don't remember how much I paid for it. I know I didn't pay over $50 for it, but I pulled it out when I realized I didn't have one, and I started looking, and it says number 17, 1/4 inch quilting foot with guide. The exact same foot that they were showing on the video. So now I do have one. And I already had this box. I bought this box when I was living in Florida. So I already had it, and it fits on my machine. So I was like, Lucky, lucky me. I have a lot of wonderful feet that I can do wonderful things with. So I haven't used it, but I'm hoping it's going to help. Now, I did, like I said, I saw several videos, and I have to tell you, I got these rulers here with all these lines on it and all of these different things. I didn't know what half of that stuff meant. I really didn't. I just know inches, inches, quarter of inch, half an inch. I didn't know that the little lines showed you what the was and the 2 inch. I had no clue. So basically, I learned how to read my ruler. I'm laughing because I didn't know. I didn't. I saw all these lines and everything. I never paid them any attention because I'm not a quilter. I did not realize that they had significance and what the significance were. So now I do. So I'm embarrassed a little bit, but now I'm educated. That part is good. So I learned that, and some of the tips that they were talking about as far as this is go along with sewing too. If you have one of these heat resistant rulers, which I already had, didn't have to buy it. I had gone to some class or another and they recommended it and I got it. So you can fold your fabric to the quarter inch, half inch, whatever, eighth of it, what is 3/4, a quarter, half quarter, 3/4, and an inch is what they have it on here, 2 inches. But anyway, you can iron on it. So I have that. And also some people recommend that you wash your um, fabric before you start quilting. I'm not going to. Uh, it does fray. I don't know if this would be a good thing, but I do have the fray block. I already had that. I already had the glue because they're talking about gluing instead of pinning your pieces together. So that works. Friction pins that are heat erasable pins for the fabric. I didn't have any. So I did get me some of those. So I got those. Hopefully those will work. And Marina, I got this because of you. You told me that you had this June Taylor Magic Seam Wand that you use to press your seams down. And you said it works wonder. So I did get this to try. Hopefully it works. I was using this. I already had this, and I've been using this, and a lot of people I know use this. It works, but I wasn't impressed. The finger pressing that you do when you're pressing down your quilt pieces and stuff. So I'm going to see if this is going to make it any better. But as you can see, obviously I've been looking at videos about quilting. I even found this that I didn't remember buying, and this is June Taylor too, and this is June Taylor. What is it? Quilt basing spray. I bought this a long time ago. Never used it. Where did I buy this? I don't even know. Hobby Lobby. Bought it out of Hobby Lobby. Must have been on sale, and works for basting quilt layers or embroidery. Multi-use fabric adhesive. So it's just a fabric adhesive. I've never used it, but I have it. Now, I tell you what I did learn, and no one said anything to me about it in the quilting. Well, it's not a quilting club, but our sew along, and we're doing quilting. That's kind of why I'm excited about it because I'm learning how to do this quilt, and I still haven't cut anything out, but I'm a step closer. I got my fabric starched. That was the other thing I learned, that you need to starch your fabric. So I got all my fabric starched. I starched it up last night, hung it up, dried, haven't ironed it yet, but I got my fabric all starched so I can get it cut out. Now, I don't know if you guys do that, but everything that I read or heard or listened to on YouTube, that's what they said to do. So that that's what I've done. Um, But what I was going to say is, who has a quilting design board? Anybody? Does anybody have one? Does anybody use one? What do you think about it? Um, I found this um, instructor, don't remember her name, from the fabric, it's not her, the fat quarter shop. I was looking at some, just ran across it, and fat quarter shop, and she has the ultimate beginner quilt YouTube, and I think she made this series like 4 years ago. And she starts from the beginning to the end of making a quilt. From telling you about, like, if you've never used a sewing machine, what all the parts are, how to use it, and so forth. And then she tells you how to do everything. And she goes, you learning how to do your blocks, how to do blocks, because she has a 12 block quilt, 9 block quilt, and there are 9 different styles. Hourglass. I'm not even going to try to name all these things because I don't know what they are. But she shows you each video how to do these blocks, even how to read a pattern, which I had no clue how to do. I didn't know what this stuff was. Well, I knew what it was. I just didn't know how to read it. So now you guys are laughing at me. I know I'm understanding all of this stuff so much better. So I actually will eventually have a quilt. And it's not going to necessarily have to be a quilt as you go, which is what I initially started. Because what I did, I got her ultimate quilt kit. Never had a quilting kit in my life, but it's all plain fabric, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that because you end up making this quilt because she does all the different blocks and she shows you how to cut it out, everything. And I was so elated and impressed with that. So I was like, okay, this is going to work for me. I am actually going to learn how to do quilting because she does everything from the beginning to the end. And she has all these different videos on YouTube. And I don't remember the lady's name, but it is the Fat Quarter Shop. And I guess if you look up the Ultimate Beginner's Quilt series, then you can find it. Because I just stumbled upon it and I've been watching it, falling asleep on some of them. But the good thing about it is, oh my God. Uh, that scared me. You know what? I have no idea what happened on my phone. And I don't know if you guys heard it, but all of a sudden, a song started playing, which was ridiculous because I had my phone on silent. And why that happened, I don't know. But that's that scared me. That scared me because, well, it startled me. So sorry for that. I did not know why or what was happening. I thought some kind of alert or emergency or something had occurred. And then I looked down there and they got this song playing. And you know I didn't do it because I'm talking to you right now. But anyway, I am going to do this quilt, and I'm excited about it. So with the quilting tips, sew and mark your own squares. Instead of cutting individual bias triangles, cut triangles out of square. And the other thing that helps me not feel so bad about quilting, she showed on her video, her tutorial, how you can stack your fabric up, the different colors and stuff, and you cut out your squares or your blocks um, in multiples. So once you're done, you got your 16 or your 12 or whatever squares that you need. So it's not like you're just cutting and cutting and cutting. And so I was like, oh my goodness, that saves so much time and it makes so much sense. So I'm learning how to do that. So the cutting is not going to be so, and I'm going to cut, even though I got my scan and cut to cut out these blocks and stuff, I'm going to definitely learn how to do it using a ruler and my rotary blade because that's the way I want to learn how to do it. But I will be using my scan and cut going forward because that's what I got it for. Um, use water soluble glue or pressing sheets instead of pinning. So that was, I already had the glue, like I told you. I already had a big thing of glue, but I did pick this up. Number 3, apply bias strips to bind your edges. This can give your quilt a neat and finished look. Number 4, swap out your scissors. Using the right scissors can make a big difference in your quilting. Number 5, strip quilting. This method can save you time and effort. Now, I don't know what strip quilting is. Not sure of that. Spinning intersection. This technique can help your quilt lay flat and look more professional. Now, I do kind of remember what that is, where you butt up your coordinate seams together where they lay flat. And butting up may not be the right word, but I understand what that is. And Taisha, you said Kimberly of Fat Quarter Shop teaches a lot of quilting lessons, and she has a lot of free patterns on her site. Now, this may be Kimberly. I'm not sure. That name sounds familiar, but so it may be her that is doing this teaching. I don't know for sure if that's her or not, but I've been watching her or the Fat Quarter Shop lessons, and they are very informative. And Taisha, you said strip quilting is using jelly rolls or fabric that is 2.5 inch wide. But okay, got you. So you make the whole quilt out of jelly rolls. Makes sense. Using a walking foot for machine quilting. I have a walking foot. I learned how to use that when we were doing the um, Christmas tree skirt and our table runners. So got familiar with the walking foot. And number 8, fine line chalk markers. These can help you mark your quilt accurately. Number 9, read the directions first and then cut later to help avoid mistakes down the line. Always read the complete cutting instructions before you begin. Now that part, I would definitely have to read it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm gonna watch her video. I'm kind of disappointed because when I ordered this kit, I was under the impression that they were gonna send a CD video so I could have it playing while I watch and not have to go through YouTube. So I have to go through YouTube, which I guess is not a big deal because it is on YouTube. But I kind of wanted to own it and not have to do that. But all of the lessons are there and they're back to back if you watch them. So that's good. And she shows you how to read the patterns and most importantly, how to cut them and make sure everything is cut precisely and putting it together. I also learned what exactly is a scant quarter of an inch. I was watching a video, I believe it was today, and I guess I get the big ruler, and and my ruler's dirty. But anyway, the 1/4 inch is here, and the lady was saying to put it on your machine pressure foot. You know how that the plate has the measurements on there, and she advised, this is a different instructor, not to depend 100% on that 1/4 inch that's on your machine, because it may not be accurate, to actually use your ruler and put it up against the needle and look at where it actually falls. Now she said a scant 1/4 inch is one, and Taisha, you had mentioned this the other night. It's like one thread, depending upon the length of your thread, one stitch rather, shy of the 1/4 inch. And on her machine, there was a line that was closer to the pressure foot than the 1/4 inch that ended up being the scant 1/4 inch. And I was like, it really exists. It wasn't something I was just making up because they were saying it didn't fit. There's actions. Was not aware of that. And I guess it just depends upon your project, but this is a true measurement, and it is the scant. They sell a scant 1/4 inch foot now. Oh my goodness, Rob. I did not know that. So you actually can buy a scant 1/4 inch foot. Because we were talking about that the other night, and I honestly thought it was just a word, not a true measurement, because I said I did a scant 1/4 inch, but it was my scant. It wasn't a measured scant. It was just a little bit less than a 1/4 inch, because the project that I was doing, it was not fitting. It was a sew as you go project, and when you sew your seam and flip it over like you're supposed to, it wasn't fitting. So I took it upon myself to do, quote unquote, a scant 1/4 inch to make it fit, and it did fit. But I didn't do a measurement. I just sewed it less than a 1/4 inch. Now, were they all even? Probably not, because one, I didn't have a foot or a measurement or anything. It was just me doing something. But now I know better. So when you know better, you do better. But that's kind of funny to me. Um, And then number 10, it says use tools wisely. When rotary cutting, start with the blade about a half of an inch up on the ruler, and then cut it back to the tip, and then cut forward. And that way you don't start chipping away your ruler, is what I read or heard at another YouTube video that I watched. Now there are so many tips that I came across, and I'm not going to do the color scheme and all of that kind of stuff. And they were talking about color schemes and stuff. But I did have this one article that I read. Hopefully, I can pull that up because that's too many colors. This is the needle chart that I was telling you about that I had gotten offline, where you can cut it out, print it out, cut it out, laminate it, or whatever, and have it with you to let you know what needles to get for what particular fabric. Now, real quickly, I will go over 30 clever sewing hacks that will raise your skills in no time. And it caught my attention because the first thing that I read and hadn't thought about was, if you are trying to thread your needle and having difficulty threading your needle, like I do sometimes if I'm trying to thread needle on my single needle, if for some reason my needle threader is acting stupid because it does that occasionally. This person, and this is from Sew My Place, and it says 30 clever sewing hacks that will raise your skill in no time. She talks about hairspray. Spray the tip of your thread with hairspray. It will stiffen up the thread enough to go through the eye. I thought that was pretty clever. I had not heard of that before. So I thought, yeah. So, number one for her tip, tired of bobbins being tangled, use a toe separator, the kind that you get in a pedicure kit, and that would keep your bobbins separated and organized. And it is cheap. You can get those things in the dollar store for a little nothing. If you have a hard time threading a needle, spray the tip of the thread with hairspray. The stiffened thread will be much easier to get through the eye of the needle. Number three, you usually get more for your money when you buy large spools of thread. But if a large spool is too big for your sewing machine, just put a wide mug next to the machine and set the spool of thread inside the mug. That's the same thing as a thread stand. If you don't have one, then a big mug and set the thing down in there and then thread your needle and go on about your business. So there's always a hack to something if you don't want to buy the thread stand. But the thread stand allows you to go up and over. This one would just hold the big thread. So just think about that. Number four, when sewing with a delicate thread, you can prevent breakage by threading the needle with a second, sturdier thread. As you sew, the sturdy thread will support the more fragile thread and keep it from breaking. That part I don't understand. Now, I used some invisible thread one time, and that stuff got on my last nerve. I don't like this stuff. It is very fragile, very thin, and it's invisible, so it's hard to see. You trying to thread your needle with invisible thread? For real? Do you have trouble getting pins through thick layers of fabric? Then start using a bar of soap as a pin cushion. The soap will lubricate the pin so you can pin thick layers of fabric together more easily. Now, isn't that, I mean, who would have thought? Y'all may know about this, but I didn't. And here's a simple way to keep your pins from getting dull. Make a pin cushion using steel wool as the stuffing. When you pull your pins in, when you push your pins into the pin cushion, the steel wool will sharpen them. Now I've heard of aluminum foil for your scissors, but it makes sense for the needles. If you have ever knocked over a bowl of pins, you know what a mess that can be. To future to prevent future mishaps, you can glue a magnet to the bottom of a bowl. Now the pins won't come spilling out if the bowl gets turned over. Now I do know that they have magnetic bowls at Harbor Freight that you can buy. Haven't bought any yet, but because I haven't been there yet in a minute. But I intend to get one. But that's a good idea if you have some magnets and you just put it in there. Now, I was watching this video. Um, like I said, I looked at so many of them. I don't remember who this person was, but she was stitching. And it might have been Kimberly at the Fat Quarter shop, now that I think about it. She had a pin holder that she was using, and she was stitching, and she would take the pins out, and she was just laying them on her sewing table. I guess because she was doing the tutorial and she was in a hurry, but she just picked up this bowl or pin bowl or whatever, and just tapped the pins and they all went up into the bowl. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Because I'm still using a pin cushion. I got to get away from. Well, I use a pin cushion. I do have some magnetic uh, square pin holders, but I think I got just too many pins on it because it's not convenient. So I started back to using the pin cushion. Um, but I want to get back to the magnetic thing because I think that saves more time. Number 9, if you don't feel like using pins to secure your fabric for sewing, use binder clips, which we do, and it is faster. So you can use a binder clip or you can use these kinds of clips, which don't know who they're by because I took them out. I don't know if they're clover or not, but the big pins, these aren't cheap either, but they work. Now I have a big thing of these little bitty clips, and I use these a lot. These are my go-to clips. I use those all the time, but I do have them. If you need a sewing light for your machine, then you can use a reading light if you have one or get one, whichever one, if you're able to get a sewing light that's a little bit cheaper, then that's the idea, especially if you get one that's flexible. I have one that's flexible with a clip, and I actually have it on my lampshade where my bed is, so I can, I kind of use it, well, not so much as a night light, but if I don't want the big bright light shining, then I can turn that on. But it has a clip and it's flexible and I love it. So that would work well on the sewing machine if you don't have a light. Now I bought a light strip when I got my machine and my husband put it on it and it's you plug it into the USB port, I believe, and just tap it and it comes on because my machine has a light, but it ain't enough light for me. So I needed another light on there. So that works. I don't remember what it costs. I don't even know if I bought it. He probably bought it. I don't remember. Um, if your foot pedal or on your sewing machine likes to wander like mine does around while you're sewing, put a piece of rubber cabinet lining under the foot pedal to keep it from moving around. Rubber cabinet lining. I'm trying to picture what she's talking about and if it's going to work. Now, well, I have this thing that you're supposed to put down that's supposed to keep it from moving. And I started to say it didn't work because it's on carpet, but it didn't work when I was at my daughter's house and she had the hardwood floor. So I don't know, besides gluing it down to the floor, I don't know what would make it stay still. If anybody knows a way of making it stay still, please let me know because that drives me crazy chasing my foot pedal. I don't like using the knee press. I do have that and I do have the button, but I prefer because I'm used to using the foot pedal, I prefer using that. I think you have a little bit more control. Um, if you want the button that you just sewed to stay on longer, she says brush a layer of clear fingernail polish over the top of the button to hold the thread in place. I'm telling you, she's coming up with some stuff here. You can use bias tape to hem pants and skirts. It's fast and easy, and no one has to know. I use that Hemosine, whatever that you just put the heat on. I've been using that for years. And that's what I use when I'm hemming something. Rarely do I hem by hand or machine. I just use iron. That's what I do. Love to quilt, but you don't like spending money on batting. Then think about using an old blanket as a free quilt batting. That's a thought. 15. Ironing between buttons and other embellishment can be tough. Luckily, you can use a flat iron, the kind that you use for your hair. to press fabrics in areas that might be hard to use with a normal iron. That's a thought. You got one of them little bitty ones? Because I have a small one because small hair. I had a little bit more hair than this, but I got the little small pressing thing. So that might work. And then, um, but this is money. I have those little bitty irons. It's just got a little point to it. It's no bigger than this, just about. And I iron with that when I need to get in little small places and stuff like that. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I do have that. That works. Attach a tape measure to the edge of your sewing table if you don't have, like my big table, I have this big cutting mat on it. The big one, the big one that you get from Joanne that they have rolled up because I have a big table and I have that. So I got all of my measurements and everything like that. But she's suggesting if you have a sewing table or whatever, you don't have a mat obviously on that, that you can just put a tape measure on it and attach a tape measure to the edge of your sewing table. This way, you'll always have a convenient way to measure fabrics, even when you can't find your ruler. So that's good. I hadn't thought about that because that's over there and this is over here. Makes sense to put it over there. I might just do that. Number 17. Here's an easy way to create a seam allowance. Put two pencils together. Oh, yeah. And use a rubber band to secure them. Now, as you trace the edge of your pattern with one pencil, the other pencil will be drawing the seam allowance. Now, if that makes sense to you, you put two pencils together, band them together, and then when you're drawing two lines at a time. And she said that makes your seam allowance. And I don't think you're going to be able to see this picture where she shows. I don't know if you can see it well enough to see what she's doing, but that. And then she says, if you need a wider seam allowance, use a rubber with three pencils together, and don't forget to push the middle pencil up a bit so it won't make a mark. And then she has that picture as well to show you what she's talking about. Pretty nifty. Number 19, to make a seam allowance guide on your sewing machine if you don't have one. Some people put a strip of tape or something that goes all the way around, but she says that you can use a rubber band around the base of the machine and you can adjust the width of the seam allowance by moving the rubber band closer to or further away from the presser foot. Uh, I wouldn't do that. I think there's too much work and a rubber band may break or what have you. I would just use the tape if I'm going to do anything because I think that would be something that would last a little longer. Number 20, you don't need a bodkin to pull a piece. Oh, a bodkin, Bodkin. I don't know what, I think I've seen one. I don't have one. But she said you don't need a bodkin to pull a piece of elastic or cording through a waistband. I've known this for years. Pinning a safety pin to the end of the elastic or the cord will do the job. So you just put the, I had to show my husband that because his uh his cord came out of his hoodie top, the hood, and he was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I said, put it back in there. I don't know how to do that. So I had to show him. I said, just get a safety. You see the safety pin? Put the safety pin in there and run it through. I was surprised he didn't know, but he didn't know, but now he does. I've been doing that for years. So that part is the bigger the safety pin is, the better, unless you got a real thin area, it's easier to maneuver through, but it works like a charm. I do have some cords that came with some kind type of apparatus, and that's probably the bodkin thing. I never even looked at it because First of all, I don't know how to use it. Second of all, I'm used to using the safety pin, so that works for me. And if you need to carry emergency sewing supplies in your purse or pocket, then a small matchbox will carry some needles, thread, and even a few buttons. Don't know if I do that anymore. I don't think, but that's a good idea. And of course, to prevent fraying, use pink and shears to cut your fabric. Number 23, slippery fabric like satin can be hard to cut. To make things easier, pin a piece of muslin to the fabric before you start cutting. I think that's a good idea. Because, yeah, satin gets on my nerves. Not only is it hard to cut, it is hard to sew and embroider. If you need to trace lines on your fabric but can't find your chalk, use a bar of soap and the soap washes out. So that's an option if you have a bar of soap. I don't use bar soap, but anyway, it's an option. After you afraid your buttonhole will be ripped open more than you want it to be, well, you can prevent that ripping by putting two pins at the top and bottom of your buttonhole. So if you make a buttonhole, and I've done this before, you make a buttonhole, then you get your seam ripper and you go through there to open up your buttonhole and you push it a little bit too hard and doggone it, you rip your buttonhole open. Well, she suggests that at the top of the buttonhole and the bottom of your buttonhole, put some pins in there and then use your seam ripper and cut it open. Then you won't have to worry about ripping it open too far. Now she said lumpy fabric like fleece can be hard to sew, but you can place a plastic freezer bag on top of the fabric and it will make it pass under the pressure foot more easily. And once you're finished sewing, you can gently tear off the bag. Now I have done that on my embroidery machine, but I've used the water soluble stabilizer and just lay it down on top and then you stitch on top of that. And it keeps the needle from getting caught up in your batting, which we probably all know. And then this other one, 27, and to keep you from losing your scissors, just get a ribbon, tie the scissors around your neck. I've seen people do that a lot. I don't do that because I don't do that much. I don't sew, but I do cut a lot. But I keep my scissors on my table, so I'm not ripping and running looking for scissors. And when I'm not using them, I have a basket and I just stick all my scissors in there. And all of my extra scissors, which I have a lot of them, is in a box sitting right over here. So I have yet to have an issue with scissors, keeping up with scissors. I try, and I got scissors in three different places, so plenty of scissors. If your scissors have gotten dull, using them to cut a piece of sandpaper or tinfoil will sharpen them up. So she says sandpaper or tinfoil or aluminum foil will help sharpen up your scissors. That's a good idea. My kitchen scissors need sharpening, so I'm gonna try that with some aluminum foil. Number 29, pattern weights allow you to cut more accurately than pinning alone, but pattern weights can be pretty pricey. Yes, they are very pricey. Last time I checked, those little four little weights that you can buy in a package out of Joann was running like $20. I said, these people have lost their minds. Why would you pay that much money for that? Luckily, there are plenty of alternatives, including nuts, bolts, washers, flat pebbles, and even spare change if you want to. Now, I bought a bunch of washers. So when I'm laying something out to cut, I just went to Home Depot or someplace and I bought a bunch of washers about the size of a 50-cent piece. And I don't know how many I bought. I just bought a bunch of them. But that's what I use when I'm laying stuff out. I don't pin anymore. I just put the washers down. When I was making masks, that's what I did it because I had to cut out all this fabric and stuff, and I used the washers, so they do work. Spare change works too, she says. Good idea. And the last one, she says, loose beads can be hard to handle. So to make them easier to deal with, place a few pieces of masking tape face up on something like a paper plate and pour the beads on the plate. Give them a gentle press, and you don't have to worry about cleaning up these loose beads. They're stuck to the masking tape in the paper plate, and then you can just pick them out as you need them. I think that most of these little clever hacks were quite useful and hopefully something that you had not heard of before. And Robin, you said you chase your pedal all over the floor. I hate that. Carol, the 5 pound gym weights my husband never uses are great paddle. I guess so for 5 pounds. Um, what was that? It was something I can't think of right now. This lady used she made a sand weight, and I can't think what it was for. Now that it escapes me, I can visualize it, but I can't remember exactly what it was for because again, like I said, I looked at tons. I know I looked at least 5 or 6 videos, if not more, um, looking at different videos about sewing, quilting, embroidery, and even with not so much on fabrics, because what I have found with the fabrics is if you're quilting, they recommend that you buy your fabrics from a quilt shop. You don't have to, but from what the obviously the quilting people are saying is that you get a better quality of fabric and your quilt will last longer. Now, what I do know is that the fabric, if you buy it out of a fabric store like a Hobby Lobby, Joann, they it's thinner unless you're paying. They're quilting cotton. I put it that way. When they listed quilting cotton, and you go there, it is much thinner than the cotton quilting cotton that you buy at a quilting store. Hence, why they cost so much. Because I went to a quilting store back in December, and apparently I had never been to one because I don't quilt. But I was just walking around looking and observing the beautiful fabric. I mean, the fabric was just all just gorgeous, and I was like, wow. And when I looked at what the fat quarters cost, I was floored. I did not have a clue that a bundle of flat quarters is gonna cost you $80 plus. I was afraid to ask what how much the fabric was a yard. I don't know. It was a lot. And in my research and going on to these fabric shops and stuff, and I'm looking at their charms and their layer cakes and their fat quarters and what have you, and the jelly rolls, all of those things. I didn't even know what they were called. I didn't know what the round thing that I used to see all the time was a jelly roll. Had no clue. Didn't know that the little things cut out were called charms, the little 5 inch thing, and of course layer cakes, the 10 by 10. I just learned all that stuff last week. I didn't know what that stuff was called. No less the usage for it. I did learn about the jelly roll back when I did my tote, but it's just interesting to see the difference in the prices at a place like Joann and the prices when you go to a quilt shop or even online to a quilt shop and how much those things cost. You can get a jelly roll, as you guys probably know, where they got the 42 strips in there. They're going to cost you $40, $50. What? Yeah. And then the bundles of your fat quarters, depending upon how large the bundle is up there at way past $50, 60, 70, $80. Beautiful fabric, but my word, I don't know how people can afford it. But I have to put it in perspective because embroidery is expensive too. People talk about how much you're paying for hoops. You're paying 150 to all the way up to $300 for some hoops, and we have multiple hoops. And then all of the thread that we buy and all of the stabilizer that we buy and all of those things. So putting everything into perspective, I guess they come out the same, but I was just surprised because I had no idea that quilting was as expensive as it is, but it is expensive. Um, but it's a beautiful hobby because I love looking at beautiful quilts. And I'm going to make a quilt, and I'll let you guys know if I'm hooked once I get the quilt made or if I'm totally frustrated, which I'm going to be one or the other. I don't know, or hopefully somewhere in the middle is what I'm hoping. But I'm going to go ahead and do this quilt. So I see that it is 10 o'clock, a little bit after, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, say good night to everybody, and I will be seeing all of you guys that are available to come in tomorrow night to the sew along. Doesn't matter what stage you are in, whether or not you're stitching yet or cutting yet or whatever. For me, I will be most likely cutting. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and say good night to everybody. Thank you guys for stopping by. I totally forgot about the thumbs up, the thumbs up. I got to remember to say this at the very beginning, but it's very, 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 very important to give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. If you got anything out of this, then please give me a thumbs up. And Jeanette, hi, how are you doing? You just caught me saying goodnight. But that's okay. I'm just glad that you stopped in and do appreciate the support. Um, and Jenny, you said very informative show and have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. And thank you, Robin. I do appreciate it. All crafting costs money, but it's enjoyable and cheaper than therapy. That's true. That's true. But yeah, it is. And Jeanette, like I said, thank you so much for stopping in. But we are actually wrapping this puppy up and getting ready to get out of here. So hopefully, and I know you're a busy woman, so hopefully you'll be able to stop in again a little bit earlier and get a chance to chat a little bit with us. But for now, I'm gonna say good night. And like Jeanette said, please thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you guys later. You guys have a good rest of the week. Good night.